up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the After Work Anime Club podcast. I am your host, Luulu Soul, and joining me today is...
Hello, yes. Distracted shark. Not shark, such distraction. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
You know, maybe we should change your name to Sleepy Shark.
Well, to be fair, I am usually tired.
Very tired. And your avatar looks tired too, but that's because I have our eyes closed.
I was about to say, whose fault is that?
It's mine! All right, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about power fantasy. We're going to talk a little bit about what is going to be categorized as a power fantasy. And then Sharko and I have scanned through the winter 2025 season, and we've kind of plucked out the ones that look the most likely to become power fantasy. And then I also have a few questionable maybes.
Because sometimes it's really obvious.
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And so to figure part of it out, we've actually gotten down a list of what we consider to be a power fantasy. Sharko, do you want to bring up your ideas?
So a couple of things that are like really obvious big red flags for, I don't want to say red flags, you know what I mean. Signs that something is a power fantasy is anything that includes some variation of I'm the strongest.
I'm an S rank.
I'll solo any boss.
The most powerful.
Possibly the greatest. Anything that has some variation of that, yep, that's power fantasy. It's not the only indicator, obviously, but like it's a pretty big one.
It's like the bat signal of power fantasy.
Yeah.
I also have in here, main character has an unfair advantage over everyone else. So if it looks like the main character of this anime has gone into a video game that's pay to win and has paid to win, it's probably a power fantasy.
I mean, yeah, that's certainly a way to put it.
In addition to that, if the main character just doesn't ever seem to struggle. Like, they might have it, the closest to a big struggle is either going to be in a big final arc or like when you face a Pokemon gym for the first time and then you get demolished and then you go right back in and you beat them because now you know all their secrets.
Mm-hmm. Some do have variations on this, but those are a lot of like the core parts of did the character literally ever struggle?
And also because of this, because you don't have a lot of these struggles, usually the power fantasy is focusing more on the world building and how the characters interact with each other instead of focusing on the hero's journey style story time, but it's done in a hero's journey style storyline.
Yeah, that's just not important.
You still get the big epic fight scenes. The main character just isn't going to have difficulty with them. So past power fantasy that I've written down as examples are like if in the past seasons you guys have watched Campfire Cooking in Another World. Brief synopsis, main character, but he figures out that he can order things online, right?
Which one?
Campfire Cooking in Another World?
Campfire Cooking in Another World is not inherent. It doesn't start as a power fantasy because just having the power to order things off Amazon that shows up in a cardboard box is not a power fantasy.
Yeah, but he quickly makes friends with one goddess, which turns into four goddesses. At some point ends up befriending Fenrir by giving him food.
Yeah, it becomes a power fantasy very quickly, but like doesn't have a lot of like this, like in episode 1, it's not obviously a power fantasy.
No, but the ability that gives him a big boon over everyone else in the world is his ability to just order things online. It gives him that foreknowledge of things that he creates end up becoming bestsellers. It's the through line that makes him who he is.
Yeah.
That and his ability to cook. I also have One Punch Man down here.
I mean, One Punch Man, by its definition, is a power fantasy, but that's not the point.
No. Again, a power fantasy is something that is going to usually focus more on the world building, the other characters around them, backstories.
Yeah. One Punch Man also at its core is more than anything, it's usually comedy.
Well, yeah. I also have the exact reverse of a comedy. I have Shield Hero in here. If anyone has seen Shield Hero, that one absolutely does not start as a power fantasy.
I have a lot of opinions on Shield Hero.
I have only seen season 1, but it very quickly comes into his shield is actually the big special weapon that is stronger than anything else. And the heroes that in the beginning all seem super intimidating are just super pathetic after like 4 episodes.
Yeah, I believe I was told it was something along the lines of he's the only one who actually understands the leveling system.
Right, yeah. And then, of course, reincarnated as a slime is probably one of the most popular power fantasies, second to One Punch Man.
It's up there. Yeah, it's kind of good.
So go ahead.
It actually was not very well received this last season.
Really?
Yeah, because it didn't have a lot of action in it.
Oh. It's never had a lot of action, though.
It has at times had good chunks of it, but this last season was about a lot of political stuff and a lot of meetings because they needed to cover a lot of stuff, and it wasn't interesting unless you were into that. Spoilers, I'm into that. That's why I read the light novel series.
Well, and like I was telling you, I think the reason I've struggled to go back to season 2 is I feel like Reincarnated as a Slime has so much world building. I feel like I'm constantly having information overload with the world building.
Well, that's fair.
But those are previous seasons. What we're doing today is we're looking at the current season because we are now in winter 2025. I've also discovered that my anime list lies. It is a lying liar McLiarson.
Yeah?
The air dates on my anime list are not always the actual air dates.
Okay.
And that is infuriating.
Yeah.
If I have mentioned air dates in a past episode, ignore them because they may or may not be accurate at all.
Yeah, those are best guesses.
Like I was looking back, one that wasn't supposed to start until like today aired on the 1st of January.
Because of course it did.
Right. Anyway, so we're going to jump in with the most obvious power fantasy. And you know way more about this than I do, Sharko, but it's
only a little.
Only a little. Solo Leveling Season 2, Arise from the Shadow.
Oh, God, Solo Leveling's so good.
Do you want to give us a brief overview of what it is and why we are calling it a power fantasy?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The overall premise of Solo Leveling is this is a world where about a decade ago, mysterious gates to places full of monsters started spawning all over the world, and at the same time, random people, not everyone, started awakening to magical powers. These people are called hunters. When you awaken as a hunter, you have a set amount of magical energy in your body, which is considered your rank. This cannot change. Fundamentally, if you wake up and you're the strongest person on the planet, you will always be the strongest person on the planet. If you wake up and you are the weakest person in existence, tough luck. No amount of skill will change that because, go ahead.
So naturally, our main character
is the weakest.
So naturally, our main character is actually...
Well, but that's the thing. He doesn't immediately become the strongest. It is a long journey, and it is not easy.
So then, despite having it on here, by our criteria, would this be considered a power fantasy then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because one of your core parts is inherent to this. He has an unfair advantage because the thing that changes is that he gets the ability to level up. He gets the ability to become stronger.
Oh, so he's the one person in the entire world that can, in fact, change his rank.
He's the only person.
Ooh, that's exciting. So that's going to be... Go ahead. Sorry.
Very good. I can highly recommend reading the series, and the anime has been pretty good. I started watching season 2.
And now this can be found on Crunchyroll. It claims that it started airing on January 5th.
That was...
yesterday.
I think it was the 4th.
The 4th. See, it lies, liar McLiarson. But
I believe I watched it Saturday, yeah.
Either way, you can gain access to episode 1 on Crunchyroll. I believe Crunchyroll has all of season 1 as well.
It does.
All right. The next one I have on here is... this one is actually an I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. And that is Headhunted to Another World from Salaryman to Big Four.
Yeah, it's another one of those that clearly has the idea of, like, why is a normal person, one of the big four? But I'm actually reading the premise now, and we might be wrong.
Right? So this one is an unsure. So by the name of it, Headhunted to Another World, from Salaryman to Big Four, it definitely gives off this is going to be a power fantasy. But the synopsis says, Denosuke is your normal everyday salaryman trying to climb the corporate ladder. But then he's summoned to a terrifying fantasy world by the Demon Overlord, who offers him a job as one of the heavenly kings in his army with full benefits. Uchimura may not have muscles or magic, but he has an office worker skill and savvy. Will they be enough to keep him alive?
Okay, so this might actually be my exact vibe of normal guy doing his best.
This is going to go one of two directions. Either this should have been in my cozy anime category, because we've seen that as well, where you'll have like a random normal guy will end up in a fantasy world and just chills.
Yeah, doesn't get magic powers, isn't like super strong or anything.
Just chills.
Is there.
Or this is going to be a politically heavy style anime where he is using his skills as someone who is trying to rise the corporate ladder to keep himself alive in this monster infested universe.
I mean, I'd be down to watch an episode.
Oh, it looks like episode 1 is out, so maybe we'll check that out later today. So again, this one is very likely also to be Crunchyroll. Yep, this one is also Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll has kind of like come back as a main player, I've noticed this season.
Well, they never really weren't.
No, but like there used to be at least, I don't know, I feel like there was a lot less Netflix and High Dive this season. Do you want to take another one?
Sure. Let's see here. I mean, I may be guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. That sounds like a power fantasy.
It definitely sounds like a power fantasy. Do you want to give us a rundown of what it's claiming to be?
Yeah. Alina Clover signed up to be a receptionist from the Adventurers Guild, thinking it would be her ticket to the good life. Unfortunately, her dream gig turns into an overtime nightmare whenever adventurers get stuck clearing a dungeon. To save herself from paperwork, she takes to beating down monsters herself to solve the problem. But apparently she's trying to keep it a secret.
This sounds like it's going to be absolutely and utterly hilarious.
I really hope so.
Or it's going to be one of those that isn't my vibe, but might be your vibe.
It might, but it really comes down to how they handle it, because this is very much one of those things of like, if it's done well, it'll be good, and if it's done kind of mediocre, it'll just be boring.
Oh, it's a Cloverworks. Hold on, hold up. I'm going to hold up. All right, we went and watched the trailer for that one.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if it's going to be my vibe.
Really? I think it's going to absolutely be my vibe.
I'm definitely willing to watch it. This is one of those that's like, I watch it weekly with you, but nothing about it is like, yeah, I definitely need to watch that.
Really? See, because like the animation looks really fun. It looks like it's going to be the trailer alone made me laugh like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
The animation is going to be epic. It looks like there's going to be I don't know. I've gone from being cautious to this one to actually kind of excited about this one, especially after seeing that it is a Cloverworks anime. What has Cloverworks done? Why does that stick out in my head? Did Windbreaker, which I need to go back and watch more of. That's why. Cloverworks is responsible for Dress Up Darling. So that's the style of animation quality we should expect.
Mm-hmm.
It also did Horimiya, Spy Family Season 2, Bocchi the Rock. So yeah, Spy Family Part 2. So it might be, it's just Spy Family in general. Yeah, I am now actually fairly excited about this anime. They also did, it looks like, The Promised Neverland Season 1, I think. Or they might have done Season 2, which is disappointing if they did. But anyway, oh nope, they did Promised Neverland Season 1.
Anyways, moving on.
Sorry, I started nerding out.
It might be good. It might not. We'll see.
Yeah, I am suddenly fairly excited. But as for the next one, we've got Promise of a Wizard. This is one of those that may or may not be, it just kind of gave that vibe. Looking at the synopsis, on a moonlit night, Akira Masaki finds herself in a magical world where wizards and humans coexist. Every year, they must face an enormous deadly moon that attacks the planet. Their only hope lies with the wizards of the Sage, appointed to fight the supernatural threat. But Akira soon discovers she wasn't summoned by chance. She was chosen to lead them in battle.
I mean, it sounds like a power fantasy.
Even if it's not a power fantasy, it is definitely a chosen one.
Yeah, I forgot the chosen one trope. That could pretty often lead to a power fantasy.
And I am not recognizing like the studios or anything for this one.
I mean, I don't recognize most studios.
I'm learning to recognize some of them. Let's see. I mean, at this point, it's fair to say Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll's kind of got all of them down.
I checked. High Dive has like 3 or 4 this season.
Yeah, there's one in particular I'm really excited about. For High Dive, that's on High Dive.
I'm learning something by watching the trailer for this show.
Oh no.
It's got a lot of pretty boys in it. And
so you're saying lots of pretty boys and only one girl, right?
So I counted the promotional art. Are we recording again? Or
yeah, we're recording again.
I counted the promotional art. There's like at least 20 male characters of varying shapes and sizes. And by shapes and sizes, I mean they're all, mostly thin, conventionally attractive men.
I am, after watching the trailer, I am getting more Fushigi Yugi, Yona of the Vibes, reverse harem vibes from this. Maybe this one actually belongs more in the romance section than in the power fantasy section.
It definitely feels more like the romance section.
But we will see, because she was chosen to lead them into battle. But it looks like from the trailer, there's a lot of people protecting her and not a lot of her fighting.
It does not feel like she was chosen to lead into battle. It feels like she was chosen to exist with a lot of pretty boys.
I don't hate that, though.
It's not my cup of tea, usually.
Unfortunate. So this one, Promise of Wizard, might actually fit more in the romance category than the power fantasy. Only time will tell. Damn, this one also just aired. Maybe today I'll just be watching anime. All right, you want to pick another one?
Sure. Let's see. This one I'm fairly confident about, but its title is incredibly long.
Yeah.
Bogus Skill Fruit Master,
Yeah.
about the time I became able to eat unlimited numbers of skill fruits that kill you.
That's the one I was landing on, too. All right, let's give us the synopsis.
In this world, one can gain special abilities by eating a skill fruit only once. To eat another is a certain death sentence. However, Light obtains a skill called Fruit Master, which is unsuitable for battle. He resigns himself to a life as a farmer, but by chance eats another skill fruit. At this moment, he learns the hidden ability of Fruit Master, how to die to some sort of new skill. Story of a lowly farmer becoming the strongest by acquiring numerous different abilities.
Okay.
I mean, isn't this just devil fruits?
Right. So I haven't watched the trailer yet, but this is like somebody went, I like devil fruits from One Piece, but what if the main character was the dude from Sword Art Online?
God, that's just that title is so excessive, and it's not even a light novel.
It's not? Oh God,
no,
is it original?
Related entries. It's just a manga.
Oh, fancy. That actually gives me more hope.
Fun side note, so the Guild Receptionist one is a light novel.
That makes sense.
I don't need to watch the trailer for this. This is obviously a power fantasy.
This is absolutely a power fantasy. This might even be a trash power fantasy.
I will admit, without watching the trailer, I can't form too strong an opinion, but God, all right, I'm gonna watch the trailer.
You're gonna watch the trailer? Okay, let's watch the trailer.
All right, so I'm gonna retract the statement. This is obviously a power fantasy just off the name, but it looks more like just a lighthearted dungeon romp.
It does look like a lighthearted dungeon romp, but it is absolutely. My man was doing finger push-ups in the trailer. This is 100% a power fantasy. This is probably a whimsical power fantasy.
Yeah, it doesn't look... I would watch this with you.
This is in the line of, I gotta watch at least 3 episodes, or at least 1 episode, because I gotta know. I gotta know.
And that's completely fair. I'm to at least get a vibe check.
Right? So that one... Now, one thing I will say, each one of these that we're watching, you know what? I'd give this at least an episode.
So far, yeah.
I haven't run into any of this, just I have no interest.
I mean, I definitely have some that I'm much more interested in than others.
All right, so the next one I've got on my list is I'm a noble on the brink of ruin, so I might as well try mastering magic. We definitely... Huh?
I saw this one. It's probably a power fantasy, but it makes me think of a different series, which doesn't involve magic, and in hindsight is absolutely a power fantasy of a different kind.
Ascendance of a Bookworm?
No.
Oh, then what?
I am trying to remember the name. I need to go pull up Crunchyroll.
Oh, while you're doing that, this is a light novel adaptation. The synopsis is, what's a guy to do when his life suddenly changes while innocently enjoying a nice cold drink after work? I mean, really changes. This middle-aged commoner now... Okay, what is it with middle-aged men being changed into teenage or younger boys?
Well, because that's the thing. It's always middle-aged men, usually virgins, being turned into teenagers.
And I guess that's inherently where the attraction of it comes from, the whole... if I could do it again with the knowledge I have now mindset.
Yeah.
So that's usually, because that's very popular in the regression. Anyway, nice cold drink, really changes. This middle-aged commoner now finds himself in the body of Leon Hamilton, the young son of a noble house teetering on the brink of collapse. Between his fervidly desperate father and his utterly apathetic brothers, the only bright side to his new situation is that Liam can finally try learning magic like he's always wanted. Little does he know his hobby of choice may be able to turn his life upside down yet again. Will Liam be able to master the craft of magic? And will it be enough to save him from the shadow looming over his family?
I'm gonna be honest, just off premise, I'm not interested.
I'm not, I know we just talked about how I'm interested in all of them. I don't know. I'm probably going to give this like an episode.
We'll see how far we get in that episode.
Yeah, it could be great. It could be basic. That's kind of where I'm at. But it definitely seems like it's going to be a power fantasy. I'm not going to watch the trailer for this one.
I was gonna anyways, just because it feels unfair.
Fine. All right, friends. We've seen the trailer, and there are adorable Nekomimi characters in it.
And maybe a cute furry or two. I don't know. It was hard to see.
This is at least getting an episode for the fuzzy ears and tail.
Like I said, this is why we gotta at least watch the trailer.
I
Give it a try.
know. But I'm a sucker for trailers. All right, you choose the next one.
Very briefly before going into the next one, the title premise reminded me of the show The Genius Prince's Guide to Raising a Nation Out of Debt,
Huh.
which is a very different power fantasy.
True.
Good show. I enjoyed it a lot.
I don't think
Moving
I watched it, but yes, moving on.
So I've got two. One I'm not sure, but I'm pretty confident is a power fantasy, and the other one, it's in the title.
Okay, let's go with the one that's in the title.
Possibly the greatest alchemist of all time.
Hey, let's go. Why are you claiming this as a power fantasy?
Well, you're saying you're the greatest of something of all time? That's probably a power fantasy. Could be wrong. Pretty confident.
So give us the synopsis.
Not even. A hero, Takumi Iruma, gets accidentally mixed in with a group of heroes chosen to be summoned to another world. As compensation for the mix-up, a goddess offers him the right to choose any skill he wishes for. Yep, that's power fantasy. Hoping for a peaceful and quiet life that has nothing to do with fighting or going into battle, he chooses a seemingly boring creation skill. But it turns out alchemy is the most powerful skill, allows him to create everything from a holy sword to flying ships. Cheat skill, unexpectedly acquired, turns him into a wealthy merchant, makes him undefeatable in battles. A heartwarming adventure story about possibly the most powerful alchemist in another world. God, that sounds boring.
They're not even hiding it, though. But we thought the other one sounded boring, so we're gonna take a look at the trailer. All right, we've looked at the trailer. This one actually looks like something that I would wait for most, if not all of the season to be out for, and then watch the dub.
That's fair. I'm gonna be honest. Of all of the ones we've seen, this one looks the most like boring/generic.
It looks like something that I would have the dub up for, and I would use it to like be able to walk in and out of the room with. You don't have to put a lot of attention into it, but it looks like it'll be interesting enough to keep my attention while doing other things.
Maybe. We'll definitely see.
And like I'm willing to give most of these at least an episode, if not the 3 episode rule. But
yeah, I'm definitely willing to give things a try because you never know when you'll find something great. But there's an upside and a downside to trailers of sometimes it doesn't sell you, or sometimes the trailer sells you on something that you're not getting.
Right.
Which is kind of the whole point of a trailer.
We did get more Nekomimis though, and fairies, and elves.
Yeah, we'll
and
see.
A surprising amount of crying.
This is definitely the one I am the most just kind of about.
But it is definitely a power fantasy.
Oh, absolutely.
There's just like no question about it. It is not trying to hide anything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next we have, even given the worthless appraiser class, I'm actually the strongest. Obviously has strongest in the name. In a fantasy world where jobs are God-given from birth, heroes are born, not made. And Ian's job of appraiser has put him about as far from the hero pedestal as possible. Ooh, used, abused, and eventually abandoned by his fellow adventurers. Ian decides it just isn't worth going on. Okay. Luckily for Ian, though, the end may just be the beginning, as well as a new lease on life. Turns out his worthless job may just be the key to becoming a hero after all.
It's gonna be one of those.
I mean, I'm kind of here for it.
We'll see.
It is a light novel adaptation.
Mm-hmm. For the record, I know we say that a lot. It doesn't really mean anything. There are plenty of great light novels out there.
Yeah, and instead of it being a manga, it was a light novel. Or a manhwa, or webtoons are also getting a lot of adaptations. The source material doesn't mean it's going to be good or bad. It just means it's more likely to have a really long title if it's a light novel.
Yeah.
But this looks like it's ticking off the boxes of obviously I'm actually the strongest. It looks like he is going to have an unfair advantage. He might struggle in the beginning, but I don't think he's going to struggle very much after that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take a look at the trailer. So this definitely looks like it's going to have a darker spin on it. I'm thinking more Shield Hero starting out.
Yeah, it definitely has darker themes, especially when the trailer starts with, that.
I don't think he isekais, though. I think it's a failed unaliving.
Well, yeah, but that's, another word for it.
No, it's not.
It can be.
but like I don't think he is going to get transported into another world. I think he stays in that world in his own time period at his own age.
I do not mean that he is trying to isekai. It is another more family friendly way of saying unaliving
Okay.
or sudokuing.
I misunderstood.
My apologies. However, I am going to take this moment to rant about something that a lot of people in anime/manga don't fucking understand.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who really have no idea how these worlds would work, but try to write in these worlds. If you are an adventuring group and you have a singular person who has the ability to appraise things, you are not going to treat them like trash, because they are the only person who's going to determine if any of your loot has value. Also, depending on how broad the skill appraise is, that might be really important.
I mean, I think that's kind of the point. He keeps running into like really trashy adventurers.
Yeah, it's a reoccurring trope I've seen, like where people who don't know how to write like video game stuff try to write video game stuff, and it's like nobody else thought of this, and it's like yes they would. God.
Well, I, on the other hand, am fairly interested in this one. I'm actually pretty excited about watching at least the first 3 episodes.
I mean, I'll definitely give it a try. I get angry because it feels really obvious that that's stupid.
Well, it claims this one isn't out yet, so we've got a few more days before you can take a look. Do you want to take the next one?
I only think I have like one more.
Oh snap! I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. The only other one that like really like stood out to me as a maybe is a magic maker. How to make magic in another world.
Ah, see, that one's not even on my list.
Here. A man who was 30 years old and wanted to use magic died unexpectedly, and when he woke up, was reborn in another world. It keeps happening. Named Theon, he had high hopes to be magic in another world. There's no magic in that world. Theon became depressed and lethargic, but event led him to discover the existence of magic. If there is no magic, then I'll make it myself. With this in mind, Theon began researching magic from that day onwards, eventually through the spread of a disease that can only be cured by magic, and a chance encounter with an enemy that can only be defeated by magic. Theon becomes a hero who saves the world.
Okay, you know what? Maybe that should have been on my list.
But also, like, just from this premise, I'm confused, because had high hopes to be born there would be magic in another world, but there was no magic in that world, but there are enemies and diseases that can only be cured by magic.
I think from the synopsis, and I don't have it pulled up, so I actually can't watch the trailer for this one.
Yeah, completely fair.
But from the synopsis that you just read, it sounds like he was isekai'd into a world that doesn't appear to have magic, like, at all on the surface, and there are these unbeatable monsters, but it turns out the monsters aren't unbeatable because there is a magic system. Nobody just has discovered it yet. And that's actually why I took it off of my list as a power fantasy, because I thought it might be more of a research-based anime than a power fantasy one.
Mm-hmm.
But I also didn't finish reading the synopsis, so maybe it is a power.
Hey, it turns out reading's important. Who knew?
What? Crazy days. However, I am actually now in my list of these are ones that I either am pretty sure are power fantasies or want them to be power fantasies. I don't know. They may or may not be. The first one is I left my A rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depths.
I did see that one. It's probably a power fantasy. I just didn't
put it on the list.
Tab for it.
All right. So the synopsis is I can't do this anymore. Yuki Feldio, a red mage, just left his adventurer A rank party. After being mistreated as a handyman and ridiculed for 5 years, he finally snapped. And
there's
so,
a part of the synopsis I don't like.
And so began his desolate, unemployed life, or so he thought. Through a stroke of luck, Yuki is welcomed into an all-female adventurer party comprised of his former students. As they defeat dungeons,
I don't like that.
As they defeat dungeons one after another, Yuki's true strength is gradually revealed. As it turns out, this red mage wields extraordinary magic and skill. Oh no. Oh no.
Listen, there's a lot of like tropes here that happen a lot, but all female adventuring party of your former students, which is probably going to become a harem.
You really don't like the harem, do you?
I don't like harems of this specific dynamic.
Gotcha. Well, it was popular enough to be adapted from a light novel into a manga and from a manga into an anime.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people who like this trope.
But usually, like, it is usually if something has gotten a dual adaptation, then there's more likely to be more effort put into the anime. So I'm thinking like, Rising of the Shield Hero, and Slime.
Mm-hmm.
I could be completely wrong. Could be completely off base.
I mean, it looks really pretty, but I feel like I have to go back to my previous rant again of don't disrespect your handyman for a handyman.
I see this. I think this reoccurring trope probably has something to do with being in a very strict work environment where new people are often abused and overworked.
Admittedly, Japan has a famous stereotype about its work ethic. It's not a great one.
And so I think that's where a lot of the main character is unfairly treated by the people around him and ends up being absolutely amazing. I think it might have something to do with that.
Yeah, it would certainly explain the appeal of it. Excuse me. It's definitely power fantasy though. Hands down.
It went from a maybe to a definite, but since
The trailer's really pretty though.
Oh, you found the trailer?
Okay.
And after watching the trailer, yeah, I'm still kind of there with my thought process that it looks like a lot of effort has been put into making this. The bop that happens partway through the trailer was unexpected.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
This one feels like another one, though, that I'm really hoping will have a dub, because I really think it'll be easier to digest as a dub.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
All right. And this is one that I'm surprised you don't have on your list, Sharko. Sakamoto Days.
I don't know enough about it to say whether it is or is not.
You've seen the trailer, right?
Yeah.
We watched the trailer in the last video. Now that I know the main character is the older dude with white hair, I think this is either going to be like a more modern day Rurouni Kenshin style thing, or it's going to absolutely be a power fantasy. Either way, I'm excited. I'm very excited to see it.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely interested in it because like I have no attachment to it, and I'm hearing a lot about it online.
It definitely feels like it's either going to be a power fantasy or a battle anime.
Mm-hmm. Potentially both.
But yeah, I'm excited for this one. But there's not too much to say about it. If you know about it already, you know about it. If you don't, it might be worth checking out.
Yeah, and we've also talked about it previously in another episode.
Now we are going into the ones that may or may not be power fantasy. They're on my radar as power fantasy. And the first one with this is The Daily Life of a Middle-Aged Online Shopper in Another World.
Didn't we already talk about that?
In the last video, yeah. This one is also an overlapping
okay.
from. It looked like it was going to be cozy. If it's not cozy, it is definitely going to be a power fantasy. The reason it's on power fantasy is the fact that he has access to doing shopping, just like campfire cooking. And in the synopsis, it mentions instead of growing his business even more, he decides to settle down. Okay, maybe not. This might not be a power fantasy. It could go either way. It could either be cozy or it could be a power fantasy. If you want to know more about this one, see our previous video on cozy fantasy. This next one, needs to be a power fantasy, because if it is a romance, I'm low-key done.
Okay.
From brewerycrat to villainous, Dad's been reincarnated.
Bureaucrat.
I can't say that word. In his previous life in modern-day Japan, he was Kenzaburo Tobanayashi, a 52-year-old civil servant. And now he's the villainist, reborn as Grace Arverne, the drill-haired villainess of an otome game his daughter used to play. Main character is quite confused. From the little information he possesses, main character knows he should be a haughty noble girl, but the disciplined older man is simply unable to act in such a manner. His calm and kind aura leads him to befriend the heroine and further endear him to the student body as the pinnacle of elegance. As he tries to keep the story on track, main character will have to draw on his years of experience in the workplace, his perfect Japanese manners, and his family-oriented morals to fit with fellow kids.
God, this sounds so dumb.
This sounds hilarious.
No, like in a really good way.
Just basically a dad running around trying to not be a dad, but is still a dad. Like, I'm very excited for this premise. However, I don't know. The idea of a 34-year-old man being isekai'd and becoming like an 18-year-old boy, I can deal with.
Or sometimes younger.
Or sometimes younger. I can deal with that. I can get over that. But if there is romance between this mentally 52-year-old man and these children his daughter's age, I'm really hoping it doesn't go in that direction.
I feel like he'll try to avoid it.
Yeah, which could be hilarious.
It definitely sounds like it'll be a good time. By the way, this one's actually on High Dive.
See, haha, High Dive. Yeah, so I think it might be a power fantasy just with, the whole having prior knowledge, redoing life over again, from the modern world. Like, it's got a lot of tropes that appear in a lot of power fantasy.
It will certainly be a ride.
It will certainly be a ride.
Oh, there's so many this season.
Speaking of a ride, this is one that I think we disagreed about, but I have Apothecary Diaries Season 2 on here.
I don't see how you would think that's a power fantasy.
The main character is incredibly intelligent, and even though, like, she doesn't always solve the mystery right away, it always feels like she is one step ahead of, like, everybody else, and she doesn't really struggle throughout the series. The series isn't about her struggling, it's about other things, but she just almost magically seems to know how to solve everything that comes into her way. Though not magically, she has like reasoning behind it and stuff, but
I don't see it because it doesn't feel that unfair because there are people that keep up with her.
A little bit. I mean, she managed, well, we don't want to go into spoilers for season 1, but she manages to outsmart a super intelligent individual. Mind you, she had background knowledge on that individual, but she still managed, I don't know, she gives off Batman vibes. Really strong.
I don't see it, but it's still a very good show that people should definitely watch.
If anyone has not seen Apothecary Diaries, Apothecary Diaries is going into its second season. In season 1, it is about a girl who gets kidnapped and sold as a slave to the Imperial Palace, which, by the way, is not legal in this time world, and that does get rectified. But as she is trying to keep her head down and pay off her debt to get back home to her family, she keeps accidentally, on purpose, solving mysteries and proving that she is way more intelligent than she is trying to appear. She quickly gains the attention of the eunuch who is in charge of that area of the Imperial Palace. And shenanigans ensue. You get a lot of medical knowledge, you get a lot of interactions with characters, a lot of world building. It's a good ride.
It's a very good show. I just don't see it as a power fan.
This is the last one on my list, and it is also one that may not actually be a power fantasy. It is going to be showing up in another video, so I'm not going to put a lot into it. But it is the 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You Season 2.
I've actually heard this is supposed to be pretty good.
I have heard it is supposed to be pretty good. But the idea that 100 girls are constantly falling in love with this dude just kind of screams power fantasy to me.
I mean, it is because of a god.
So, like, I don't know. You guys tell us, comment, subscribe, like, do whatever it is you want. Tell us if you think the 100 Girlfriends is a power fantasy or not, or if you agree or disagree with like any of the ones that we've talked about today.
If you have your own metrics for what makes or doesn't make a power fantasy.
Yeah, right. Do you just straight up disagree with what we have talked about today?
Yeah, I will say there's one additional metric in regards to a lot of like power fantasy and also really just like action anime that is a big deal for me.
What's that?
It's one of the reasons why I like Solo Leveling as much as I do. It has to feel earned.
And see, I think
the problem I have with a lot of like power fantasies is that they're just like, here's, the powers of a god, go have fun.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna. That is one weakness to a lot of power fantasies. Power fantasies seem like almost like an evolution of the Mary Sue archetype.
Yeah.
But sometimes also it's. I know you're a One Piece fan. If there are any other One Piece fans here, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But the time that Luffy punches Bellamy for the first time.
Okay.
Sometimes you just want to see the main character be challenged by someone and have that main character just go wallop down.
Sure. Absolutely. But a lot of Luffy's stuff feels earned.
Oh, all of it feels earned. And Luffy, for the record, One Piece is not a power fantasy in any way, shape, or form. There is, like, one of the biggest traits of One Piece is the fact that you have these characters who, while astronomically strong, are consistently being faced up against characters who are way stronger than they are.
Yeah.
And then there's that one episode where Luffy punches Bellamy for the first time, and it's just so satisfying to just see him and his full strength around a more normal person.
Yeah.
It'd be like if Krillin from Dragon Ball Z went into like a regular dojo.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons he doesn't do that.
He is the strongest human on Earth.
Supposedly.
Rip Yamcha.
Yamcha was never strong.
He was strong for like 3 episodes in the first series.
In Dragon Ball?
Yeah.
But even that was, like, I think it was a gimmick fight.
I don't know. Yamcha was super cool when he first showed up in Dragon Ball because he like had control over wolves or something. full Fang Fist. Like,
Listen, I haven't seen Dragon Ball in a very long time, but I can like confidently say that I can't remember a single time Yamcha was cool.
he's cool when he first shows up because he attracts Bulma that way. And
Yeah, how'd that work out for him again?
look, that was his fault. But also, my daughter is humming behind me, so I think that's a good sign that this recording is over.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Thanks for hanging out. If you've made it this far, we appreciate you.
Yeah, and
Like the video, comments, and things.
all those things. Yeah. So we'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.
Bye.